A24 was the studio that brought us my favorite horror film of 2017, It Comes at Night, and judging from what people have been saying about this movie at Sundance, it sounds like their new film, Hereditary, could be another success. Yesterday we got a trailer for it and it does look promising. Look closer, however, and you'll see some downright creepy details and things that just don't add up, seemingly on purpose. If you want to hear the one consistency I did find, then make sure to stick around to the end of this video. This is Things You Missed. Let's just start at the beginning of the trailer. It opens on this miniature model of the house. It appears to be the house that they live in, which shows up about midway through the trailer. This piece sitting on the chair should end up going right here on the front of the house. The garage doors are the same for both, and the front entrance and overall shape of the house seem consistent. But then you notice this window is missing from the model, and the colors are changed entirely. The model has beige wood with green frames, while the house is brown, with dark brown frames. In another shot, we can also confirm that the real house is missing this section too. Now, it could just be that she's using the miniature to plan a remodel or something, or she's an architect, as evidenced by these blueprints, that reuses the same design elements in many of her works, such as the garage door and the front door. But what makes me think otherwise is that there are other inconsistencies in the trailer begging to be noticed. The treehouse is missing from the model altogether, and because the treehouse looks like a small, separate house, you have to wonder if she just sees it as another one of her creations. Just a crazy guess here because we don't know a whole lot about this movie yet, but maybe the mother starts to break down later in the movie and loses sight of the difference between her real family and the figurines. One more thing from this opening shot before we move on. There are two creepy photos pinned up in the corner of the room. I'm not sure what the first one is, but please let me know your thoughts in the comments. But the second one looks like a pair of feet standing in an overexposed doorway. If you're not convinced, let me crank up the contrast for you. Now let's look at the shot later in the trailer where the mom finds the figurine of her deceased mother standing in the doorway. Connection? Not definite, but absolutely a possibility. Here's another inconsistency. Outside of the immediate family, which is these guys, none of the people at the burial are the same people who attend the service. See how there are a bunch of bearded guys at the service? None at the burial. See these bald guys at the burial? Not at the service. The burial has 4 kids, the only kid at the service is the daughter. As far as I can tell, the immediate family are the only ones to attend both events. The mother even comments,
"It's heartening to see so many strange new faces here today. I know my mom would be very touched."
What does that even mean? Why would you want strangers at your mother's funeral? Like I said, something doesn't add up, but it gets weirder. The daughter's drawing a picture of her mother hysterical and crying at the podium. But we see at the podium the mom is fine. It's at the burial that she's hysterical. Also, on the other page, what is this? This is terrifying. If these drawings turn out to be a telling of things to come, then this is going to be one freaky scene. The necklace the mother wears can also be seen on the dead grandma as well, so it could be a symbol for the hereditary passing down of traits. Just as biological genes are passed down, the tradition of the necklace could also be passed down. What I can't figure out is what this shape is supposed to be. Let me know your interpretation in the comments, but as far as I can tell, there are 3 consecutive figures, possibly signifying daughter, mother, and grandmother. The next one is more disturbing when you think more about it. Why did this woman make a tiny model of her own mother on her deathbed? I shudder to think about what kind of person does this. And if that wasn't strange enough, it looks like the daughter also draws the dead grandma. This family needs a new hobby. If I'm not mistaken, it looks like the grandma's eyes are opening on the other page, which is out of focus, which again will be very unsettling if true. Maybe you all picked up on this right away, but the next thing is another one that just got creepy after I thought about it for a second.
You know you were her favorite, right? Even when you were a little baby, she wouldn't let me feed you because she needed to feed you. Because she needed to feed you. Because she needed to feed you.
Because she needed to feed you.
Hopefully they were talking about baby formula, but let's face it, it's way too late for that. Here's some weird things I noticed about the daughter. She's always wearing orange. She always has these strings tied around her finger. She's got this weird connection with birds. A bird crashes into her classroom window. She cuts a bird's head off with scissors. Totally normal. She has pictures of birds in her room. There's also a bird ornament sitting in a nest in her room. You could even say her whole room kind of resembles a birdhouse. If you think of a birdhouse as a miniature house that hangs on a tree, so is this. Speaking of her room, first of all, super cool. I mean, what kid would not want to live in that? But on the inside, well, this guy's just lovely. And what's the point of having indoor wind chimes anyway? I think that's enough of the girl for now. She's kind of freaky. Let's move on to the son. I don't know if it's just me, but he looks way older than his classmates. I mean, look at this kid. Look at her. Now look at the son. Looks like it got held back a couple times, but given what happens next, I can kind of see why. Also, there's a poster on the wall behind him that just says big. It could be because everything in this movie seems to have a miniature version, and if the lines do start to blur at some point, as I predicted, there may be clues about which world we're in. I think we've established that the kid is kind of disturbed, so this sign at the school that has the words help and counselor probably foreshadow a scene that takes place at said counselor's office involving the kid. You may have noticed in this quick shot that the head from the doll is missing, but what you most likely overlooked is that this is actually supposed to be the son, Peter. The dresser right here is the same as this dresser seen in his room, and the position of the bed in relation to the desk also matches. The shade of his blue pajamas seem to be the same as what the doll is wearing, and the color of the walls and the location of this stripe all match up. But of course, there had to be inconsistencies, like the missing blinds or the added carpet. I think we can assume that his head-smashing tendencies are probably related to why the doll has no head, but it also looks like something is trying to pull his head off just before. And as promised, there's one major consistency that could be a big clue as to what's making this family so crazy. At the end of the trailer, this flare transitions the mother's face into the daughter. A similar flare is seen traveling down the hall at the son's school. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this, so let me know what you think in the comments. If you're looking forward to Hereditary, then leave this video a like. And if you're too scared, then check out my horror comedy web series, The Walking Dead, instead. But regardless of your choice, I'm going to be covering all the best horror movies of 2018, so make sure you subscribe to CZsWorld for new horrors every week, ring that death bell for notifications, and I'll see you in the next one. Assuming we both survive. What?